It's time for the Terry Sullivan Show. Today's guest from Motor City Pizza, Greg Tierney. Who makes dreams come true and makes my life a really bad hallucination. It's Terry Sullivan.
Listen, that was so good. You couldn't have come up with that one yourself. I know. You're just not that ingenious. Yeah, you doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And you and Paula had COVID not too long ago.
Yeah, we did. We finally caught it after all these,
Yeah.
all this time.
Yeah.
It was our first time.
You got it. I think. Did you tell me you got it when you were in Vegas playing?
That's what we suspected. There was so many people there that we kind of figured that's where we picked it up. But
Yeah.
it was fun.
Well, and you had about, I don't know, a couple of weeks where you were down.
Actually, we were only really sick for a couple of days. Then the rest of it, we were just contagious. So we were trying to stay away from everybody.
Well, I thought about you. I'm glad you pulled through it and did well and all that. And I'm trying to be nice. It's one of my New Year's resolutions, but I'm done with it now.
Okay. You're throwing me off my game now.
I know, that's a psychological deal. Greg Tierney, it's so good to have you.
Great to be here, Terry. Thanks for having me.
Well, we got a lot to talk about because you're old.
I am old and getting older.
You go back in Old Town a long time, and we're going to go back there because you have witnessed so many changes in Old Town through the years. But you know, Greg, back when I met you, you owned Tierney's on Main Street, which is now Main Street Cafe.
Right.
Right? So how long did you own that place?
Owned Tierney's for 13 years.
13 years, yeah. And it was a hot spot. Did you just get tired of the day in, day out restaurant business?
Well, I was fortunate before Tierney's because I was at Mill Street Cafe for 11 years. So when I went over there to Tierney's, and I had the Duck Inn, what I did is I merged those two restaurants, breakfast, lunch, and the Duck Inn was dinner with the bar.
Yeah.
So I merged those two, so that's why I did breakfast, lunch, dinner, bar, 7 days a week, 3 meals a day.
You were always there. No matter what time of day, if I was there, and I came quite a bit, you were there. And I know that because that's the way I work as well. But it was a great business. I mean, it was a successful business, a long-term business, great food, great beverages. Did you just get up one day and say, I'm done with this?
What it was, I had a baby. Well, I did my part in having the baby.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
It always takes two.
My wife had the baby, and I continued for a while after that. But you know, in Laurel, my daughter is she's my only one, first and most likely only, and the restaurant was always the most important thing to me in my world every day for 20 some odd years, and all of a sudden it just wasn't as important. It wasn't my most important priority, and I just started losing. I kind of got burnt. You know, it's a very demanding business.
Sure.
And I figured it was time to step aside. So I was able to do so and put it up for sale, and I was able to sell it. Fortunately, I maintained the real estate.
Yeah.
So because I still, and that was a big part of it. You know, I believe in Old Town, and I realized the value of properties in and around here. So, but that was the main reason I got out, and fortunately, it was at the right time. That was in 2019.
Right.
So prior to the pandemic.
You got out, and then I came in. 2020, I opened the Sullivan Barbecue. January 2020, right before the pandemic got a stronghold on us. So you were the only smart one between the two of us.
And it was pure luck. I mean, obviously, I had no idea. Nobody had any idea what was coming upon us, and I don't know. And hats off to you for enduring what you did.
Thank you.
And because I just can't imagine, and I know while that was happening in my mind, I was thinking, how, as an operator, how do you deal with this?
Yeah.
What can you possibly do? Obviously, it's you're scrapping and you're fighting and doing everything just to survive, and you did it.
Well, I appreciate it. And that's in the restaurant industry, without a pandemic, it's a daily challenge, and we're going to get into that with you a little more in a bit, but it's a daily challenge. So, you know, people ask me lots of questions, not so much now because we're far away from it, but how I dealt with 2020 and the pandemic and COVID and the state shutting down dining rooms and all that kind of stuff. But you know what it allowed us to do is it allowed us to get out of our comfort zone and become creative. If we were going to survive, we had to become creative on how to move our product. So we did that, and God blessed it, and we did just fine. So when you got out of, when you sold Tierney's, was there a time when you went, wish I hadn't have done that?
No.
You were done?
I was done with that aspect of it. And a lot of people had asked me that also. Do you miss it?
Yeah.
And there's absolutely, there's certain things, many things that I missed about it and still do. But overall, in the big picture, I never regretted.
Yeah.
And moved forward.
Yeah, I think if I were to do the same thing, and I will at some point, I think what I would miss the most would be the customers that you develop a relationship and a friendship with that literally keep you in business. You know, Greg, when we were in 2020, we had customers that would eat here every day. You can't eat barbecue every day, but they would eat here every day just to support and keep us alive. And that's what you develop over the years. And I know you, because you're just kind of a household name in Lewisville, so many people love you and talk great things about you to this day. You know, we hear your name a lot. We hear your name a lot. So, but you're glad you didn't go back, you're glad you didn't stay into it. So what did you do?
Well, and that's one thing that you just hit upon, and it's the truth. I mentioned there's certain things that I do miss about the business, and it's the people.
Yeah.
Customers.
Yeah.
And the staffing, the employees.
Yeah.
And just the community.
Yeah.
You know, just being a part of it. It almost felt when I removed myself from the business and from the Old Town Business Association, Main and Mill Association, the city itself, it almost, I just didn't feel as much part of the community as I was for so long, and that was so important. And as you know, and you do so well with it, a small business, locally owned and operated, mom and pop, if you will, the number one key component to success, obviously, given good food, good service, you just have to be a part of the community.
You do.
You have to be involved. And what you did during the pandemic, and you got creative, but you were also just so good giving back to the community.
Well, I appreciate it.
I remember coming in here, and I forget what you called it, but it was just so cool. You just pay whatever you could afford.
Right. It's called the whatever bucket.
And that was, and I saw more than a couple people do more than their fair share.
You know, that was the way that worked out. I mean, people in my family, friends said, you can't do that. You can't give it away. My dad always taught me, though, that you can, because there's always that, what goes around comes around. You know, the Bible calls it, you reap what you sow. The world calls it what goes around comes around, karma. And I had to depend on that, you know, because at that time, there were so many people losing their jobs that were hurting, that were broke. So we did that, and I never lost a dime. Never lost a dime, because so many customers that still had a job and still had money would overpay for the people that couldn't pay. And so it just loosened up an effort for, you know, there were times when we were giving away 100 people sandwiches and some of them would put in $1, some of them would put in $2, some would put in 50 cents. But they got food. I had a mother come in one time, Greg, and she said, I have no idea how I'm going to feed. She was a single mom. She said, I have no idea how I'm going to feed my daughter tonight. Somebody paid for her. She came in, she got food, she took it home, and was blessed. But you have to become part of the fabric of the community, or you don't have a community. And that's what you always did well to this day. So you sold Tierney's. What did you do after that?
Took it easy for a while, and obviously it was during the pandemic. So, but stayed at home with my daughter. I spent a whole lot of time in those early years with her.
Yeah. Did your wife say, you got to find something to do?
Get out of the house. And she was working from home at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting setup, just simply because, of course, we love each other.
Yeah.
But when you're under the same roof for that many hours, 24 hours a day, it's time to go out and.
Well, you can love each other, but enough is enough. I'm reminded of that story. Obviously, it's a joke, but I'm reminded of that story of this lady who shot her husband. So the police came, and she's standing over him with a gun, and she's telling the police how much she loved her husband. And the police said to his partner, "Whew, I sure hope my wife never loves me that much." But you got to get out, right? You can only stand so much. So your wife said, "Hey, you got to do something." So where did you go? What did you do?
I did a few odds and ends things, some fun things that I've done in the past. I had a little business, which was a secret shopper business. I'm sure you know what that is. And just went out and basically reviewing other businesses. Yeah. And I did it a long time ago, and it was a fun little side job. Got me out. And
well, how'd you do that? I mean, everybody knows you. When you come in, they go, "Tierney's here."
You had to get out of the city, get out of Old Town. That helped.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, didn't do a whole lot. Again, family time. Mm-hmm. And then during the pandemic, I've been wanting to do. Should I jump into Detroit style pizza yet, or?
Mm-hmm. But why? Where does that come from?
So I was born and raised in Detroit.
Now, see, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So listen. For weeks and weeks now, I'm thinking, I don't see the connection here. So you were born in Detroit. All right.
Suburbs. Mm-hmm. Suburbs, born and raised in Michigan. And it's funny because back in the day, that was the pizza that we had. Mm-hmm. This square, deep dish, rectangular pizza. You go into any party store or gas station around town and they had it, hot and ready. They had Buddy's and Louie's and the local places. That's the pizza that we got. We didn't know that it was considered Detroit-style pizza. I don't think that anybody considered it wasn't named yet. Mm-hmm. And
it's just the way they did pizza.
Just the way we did pizza.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was delicious. I moved down here from Detroit. It's probably about 10, 12 years ago. I'm walking the streets in Austin, down the street, and I see Via 313 Detroit-style pizza. What's that all about? So popped in, grabbed one, just like I remembered it from back home.
Right.
It was delicious. So every time going through Austin, into Austin, or around Austin, I've got to go to Via 313, and they were just a little food truck at the time.
Were they from Detroit?
They were.
Okay.
Two brothers, and they used to work at Buddy's, which is a big one now that's getting regional up in the Midwest. And so just following them over the years, that was their little food truck. Now they have 5 brick and mortars in Austin, 2 in San Antonio. They're moving out of the state. So I'm like, they're doing it well. There's nothing really here in the Dallas market that's doing that Detroit-style pizza and doing it well. So I've always wanted to do that. And when I had Tierney's, I started to practice a little bit. I took a manager of mine, and we went up to Detroit and studied with Randazzo, who was a world-class, award-winning Detroit-style pizza chef. Went up there and studied with him for about a week in his commercial kitchen. And I was getting ready to do it while I still had Tierney's. One thing led to another, and I didn't do it at that time. So during the pandemic, fast forward, started seeing in the news all over Detroit-style pizza popping up. Little ghost kitchens here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and it was getting a lot of publicity. And I was like, oh boy, they're gonna steal my thunder here.
Right, right.
And that's what spurred me to get something going.
You know, I never paid any attention to it until you opened up Motor City. I just, you know, well, it's another style of pizza. But when you opened up Motor City, then I had an interest. I said, well, I gotta figure this thing out. So you started hurrying up and
started putting together a little plan, and so the pop-up was a big deal. Ghost kitchens. So places were going into, and they would rotate around. They would go into this kitchen, a bakery, for a couple weekends, and they would move. Keep an eye on their social media to find out where they're going to be next. So we're popping up different locations. What we ended up doing was a ghost kitchen. So I started shopping around places that were open during the day, but dark at night, closed at night for certain days, approaching them and saying, hey, especially during those times were tough.
Sure.
I'll pay rent while your kitchen is sitting there dark, not making any money.
Brilliant.
Nobody was taking me up on it. I was hitting places for a couple months.
Yeah.
I guess they were just suspicious, or what? They were just a little gun shy, or thought I was trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
And then I went to a catering company, Philip Smithwick, 7 Loaves Catering down in 121. He says, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, his business was really struggling.
Tanking.
Doing corporate events was his main bread and butter. And he said, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's figure it out. And it didn't take him and I long to negotiate and get it figured out before I was in there making pizzas.
Wow.
So we did it. He didn't have any dining area, so it was carry out only. Friday and Saturday nights only. Delivery through Uber Eats and pickup, and just started that way. And it grew and did really well.
Now let me ask you this. So was that your plan, to see how well it would be received before you got into the brick and mortar?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It was a perfect chance to test the market.
Not a lot of expense. If it doesn't work, you're not out a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't have to go in and custom build a kitchen and put in my equipment and the grease trap and the hood systems. And he was completely equipped. So it took a little investment, but nothing like we're used to on opening up a full-scale restaurant.
Sure.
So after about a year there, that's when I started shopping other locations for a more permanent spot.
So, what made you decide on 407? And by the way, that's a great location.
It's got great traffic.
Yeah.
I looked long and hard in Old Town, and I had a couple spots that were open that I was eyeballing, and eventually I got it narrowed down to 3, one of which was in Old Town. One was on Main Street on the other side of Lewisville.
Man, I wish you would have come to Old Town.
I know.
I wish you hadn't told me that. I would have loved for you to have been here. I
knocked on a lot of doors and tried a lot of different things, and again, trying to do, I'll just rent it out at night.
Yeah.
You know, what's your slow nights? But it just didn't work out. So when I was narrowed it down to the final 3 locations, it was just a matter of, all right, pros and cons and checklists on, here and there, and so eventually that was the winning one for us, for what we needed. We did have to do a lot of work. So when I first opened there for the first 8 months, which was supposed to be a 2 to 3 month renovation project, 8 months.
I remember seeing you in Restaurant Depot one day, and you were like, well, now I got to do this.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
It was a long process, and your hands are tied. What do you do? Just get rid of this contractor and bring somebody. You just kind of had to ride it out and work the best that you can with them, and just deal with it the best that you can. But so for the first 8 months, we were still doing just carry out and delivery through Uber Eats. But finally got the dining room set,
And by the way, it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, what a great job, especially melting into the city of Lewisville and Lewisville farmers and just really becoming a quick part. Of course, your name has a lot to do with it, but you have quickly become a quick part of the city in a big way, and that's good. That's good. So, Greg, what's the difference? You know, if you were to ask me, okay, who do you perceive to be your competition? I would give you this, this, and this. Who do you perceive to be your competition? Obviously, it's not Domino's, because you have more of a craft pizza. Do you have competition? Listen, I ordered one of your pizzas, I don't know, several months ago for my staff. And it may have been, probably was, the best pizza I have ever had.
Well, thank you.
It was absolutely phenomenal. And not only that, but it's addictive.
It is.
It's addictive. I don't know what ingredients you use, or if you don't, I don't know what you do behind closed doors, but do you put crack in your pizza?
No, the price point might have to go up a little bit. I'm not sure what that costs, but I'm sure it's
Yeah,
sure
but it's
not
absolutely
cheap.
Phenomenal pizza.
Well, thank you.
So you had to learn to do that.
Yeah, and that class that we took up in Detroit, Sean Randazzo, he was great, and because I started thinking about it. You know, I know what a good pizza should taste like. I know what a good Detroit style pizza is. I know the restaurant business. Mm-hmm. I know my way around the kitchen a little bit. You know, serving, customer service. Mm-hmm. But man, I really need to get that. I can make them at home,
yeah,
one or two in a batch at a time, mm-hmm. and probably just do the math and carry that out to do 200 pizza doughs.
Right.
But it was money well spent to go up there in his commercial kitchen and just get it, all his recipes was part of it.
Man, you had to be a sponge. I mean, you must have 24/7. You must have just sponged it.
It was very, very informative. And then from there, it was just repetition, trial and error, mm-hmm. Just knocking out all the kinks.
What's the most popular pizza you sell?
The Detroiter.
The Detroiter.
Which is pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. Old World, they call it Old World Cup and Crisp pepperoni. So as it cooks, mm-hmm. it kind of shrinks up, curls up, cups, and then
stop that! I feel like I need some right now. Terry, go get me some pizza.
I should have brought a couple. And it's just loaded with pepperoni. I mean, you would think, all right, some people, I don't think they realize they'll order the Detroiter and add extra pepperoni. It's really not necessary.
Right.
You've got so much pepperoni on there. So that's the biggest seller. Jumping back to that last question, and you kind of answered it for me. I don't think we really have competition.
I don't think you do either. That was the point. I wanted to hear you say that, because I don't think you do either. I think you're so far above any pizza that's known as pizza that I think once people eat Motor City Pizza, that's where they go. That's their place. We get pizza, we're going to Tierney's place, Motor City Pizza. But you also do more than pizza. You do salads?
Got real nice fresh salads. Very important in a pizza place, I think, and it needs to be more than just your chopped up iceberg with a tomato slice and a couple sprinkles of carrots. Mm-hmm. So we like to keep those. They got to be fresh. They got to be unique. Mm-hmm. So potato chip chicken strips potato chip chicken is a real popular one from way back Mill Street Cafe days.
And it's great. It's great. But you also sell beer and wine?
Beer and wine, full bar, full liquor. Mm-hmm. And it's such a this particular location is so nice for me as an operator. Tierney's was, that's a 5,000 square foot building, 220 seats with the outdoor patio, 3 meals a day, like I had mentioned. That's a monster.
Yeah.
This little place, little location, I'm open 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. The bar is, it's there, but it's not overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Small little dining room. It's just so much fun.
Well, and not only that, but it's easier to make your margins than if you have 225 seats, lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a full-serve restaurant. It's a lot more manageable.
A lot more manageable, because in those bigger places, you can make a lot more money if you keep that thing full and
you're
rolling.
Spending a lot more money.
Yes.
You know. So, I mean, I watch you, your social media. You have great social media.
Thank you.
And you guys, you sell out all the time. I mean, you got to make more dough.
And it's good and bad. I mean, it's a great problem to have, isn't it?
It is.
But and we're taking steps to produce more dough. There's just some limitations. Also, just simply spacing, equipment, staffing. Staffing is,
I know.
the buzzword these days in the restaurant business. But I'm very, very fortunate too, having the restaurants that I've had and being here for as long as we have.
Yeah.
Some of my staff that I have, Maribel's been with me for, I think, 18 years now. JoJo's 13 years. Red is about 12 years.
Yeah.
So I've got a good core group of people that are going to be there every single shift.
What they do, just say, hey, when you come back in it, we're with you?
Timing worked. Timing worked out for us. Of course, the pandemic is when I first started this. So some of them were just not working at all due to their other restaurant jobs that they had.
Yeah.
So that worked, and it was just good timing.
Well, yes, I agree with that, but it's you. It's you, Greg. You're a good man. You're fun to work for. You take good care of your employees. So
and
that goes a long way.
That is just so crucial, isn't it?
It is.
You have to be, and like you said earlier, being here.
Yeah.
Being a part of it, being the face, and taking care of those employees.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're my front line.
Yeah.
So it's just treating them with respect. Obviously, they have to be paid well, and
it's hard to find. It's hard to find. It's almost impossible. It's a needle in a haystack to find people that care as much about your business, because it's not their money, but to care as much about your business as you do. And you have 3 of them over there doing that. Compliments to them.
And added a few more since. And once you get that needle in the haystack,
you hang on,
protect
baby.
it.
You hang on.
Don't let it go.
I got some of those here. I wouldn't trade for the world. I'm so glad you're here, and congratulations. I mean, have you finished your first year, second year?
Just finishing. We're in our 3rd year now.
Third
Is that
year.
right? 1, 2. Yep. In our 3rd year.
You've done great. You've done great. You've got a phenomenal product. You're phenomenal yourself. People know you. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm glad you came on the show. Good luck to you. I know you're going to have a great 2023. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Best to you.
Terry, let's go, buddy.